Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a sec since I last posted a video, but you know how life gets in the way. Plus, this is just a hobby for me, and it all depends on when I can or cannot record. But that's not what's important. I said I was going to talk about Twin Peaks a couple of times on this channel, and now I'm finally getting to it. A lot has changed since then. Originally, I was only going to cover the original first two seasons from the 90s, but finally I got around to watching Twin Peaks The Return, see the third season that came out in 2017. But of course, the most, I think, significant development was David Lynch's passing, which, of course, I never met the man, but it did come as a shock to me because I had only recently gotten into his works. I've seen uh, maybe 4 or 5 of his movies now. I've seen Eraserhead, Mulholland Drive, Blue Velvet, and Wild at Heart. So just 4. But I really enjoyed all of them in their own ways, and it's weird to talk about David Lynch because he's such a renowned and unique filmmaker. And there really aren't that many kind of people that you can point to in this day and age. Of course, that legacy takes time, so who knows what young up and coming artists will be remembered in the same vein as the Stanley Kubricks and the David Lynches of the past, I suppose now. But yes, I do want to talk about Twin Peaks today, and that is what I'm going to try to do. So this will be partly a review of Twin Peaks as a whole, with some mild spoilers maybe thrown in towards the end of the video if I can manage that. But it's also going to be my attempt to show my appreciation for David Lynch's works. And yeah, I suppose that's what it's gonna be. So I guess let's get to it. So Twin Peaks is something that doesn't really fit in any one neat box as for genre. I suppose you could argue that most fiction is like that in a lot of ways, but seeing as Lynchian is a genre of its own at this point, I suppose you could describe it as part-time supernatural mystery, part-time sitcom, part-time procedural. It's unique in ways you can't really describe to someone who hasn't seen it. But what is it about? Well, homecoming queen Laura Palmer is found dead, washed up on a riverbank, and wrapped in plastic sheeting. FBI Special Agent Dale Cooper is called in to investigate the murder of this young woman in the small northwestern town of Twin Peaks. As the mystery unravels, Cooper is drawn ever deeper into the strange worlds that have invaded this small town. Now, this description is partly gathered from IMDb, and then the ending I sort of added in to wrap that up. But I think it's about as good a basic description of a series I can give, especially when it's that series is Twin Peaks. Now, how do you go about reviewing a series like Twin Peaks when maybe 60% of the time you can't exactly quite understand what's going on, especially in season 3? But I'm not going to get into details quite yet. I guess if there's any way to review any piece of fiction, you just start with my regular criteria. What is good about it, per se? I suppose while the acting is unique to Lynch and Frost's vision, it's also one of those things that you just can't quite imagine in anything other than Twin Peaks. It's all very offbeat and funny and frightening in a way you have to sort of see to completely understand. Like, you'll have these characters begin these long monologues where the music just builds and builds and builds, and you just find yourself entranced in what they're saying. And as they just suddenly begin to tear up and the music crescendos, it's almost too much sometimes. It's that in the way. It's like if you ever watch some sort of anime and sometimes you just need to turn it off because sometimes weird gets a little bit too much too fast. I think that's the case with a lot of Lynch in general. If you see his movies when it's just him going all out. In fact, arguably that's what season 3 is. It's him. It's the last thing he ever made, I believe, aside from those videos, weather updates and such. Um, but yeah, like I heard, I think it was Man Carrying Things saying in a video that the return was basically going to be his magnum opus in a sense, and I sort of agree with that in a lot of ways because not only was it his last major production, it was also just incredible. It's very bittersweet to watch, and then of course it has a cliffhanger at the end, which I suppose is just part of what Twin Peaks is. Uh, is never quite resolved story that just sort of goes further and further. But that's okay. The characters are very well done. The ones that you will learn to love and hate a lot of these characters because despite it all being very strange and hypnotic in a lot of ways, they do all still have personalities and aspects to them when which you will either think is charming, really annoying. You can have an opinion on any of these characters just like you can any other fiction. I may be making it sound like Twin Peaks is this sort of unwatchable film student's nightmare, but it's not. When I say trust me, there's a reason that first season is considered to be amongst the best television ever because it's not very long and it's very approachable. The first season is very approachable. The style of the whole thing, of course, is very much mostly David Lynch, of course, because he obviously produced most of it. I know Mark Frost was the co-creator, and I suppose they both wrote on it. I really don't know a lot of the details as to how they worked on it. I'd like to see if there's a documentary out there on the series. I should probably watch that. Um, but yeah, it's very much Lynchian. You get a lot more of it in the season. Like it gets more and more over every season, of course. But yeah, if you just want to check out the series, the first episode and like the first season are all is generally pretty approachable. Though, of course, it is ultimately all the same show, and it never really loses that. Even if when it goes off course sometimes. I think humor is something that's talked about a lot when it comes to David Lynch. It's this it's this weird way that he manages to make just these situations hilarious and the interactions they have. It's just really. I guess it doesn't work for everyone, but personally, I know I love laughing. It's all I always think the humor usually lands for me. Is what I'm trying to say. And the performances finally, I think, really everybody in production really just gives 110%, or at least maybe it's just the way it's shot, but the whole thing feels like they're all giving it their all. I really want to give credit to everyone who worked on this series because it's a total shot in the dark, and obviously between cancellation, revival, and just trying to figure out how to write the story. It's just you got it, it's a money. It feels like it's a monumental effort to create any TV show. But Twin Peaks, being as unique as it is, almost elevates it above that in a lot of ways. So I've had a lot of good things about Twin Peaks, things I really like about it. but it's not going to be a show for everyone. Some people just don't have time for all that. And I get that 100%. I often have too much time on my hands, and so that's what gives me time to read as much as I do and watch. I mean, it's not a short TV show. It's obviously only 2 seasons, sorry, 3 seasons, but it's complicated. But it's not a long show, especially, but it is a slog at times. Season 2 sort of has some weird side stories that don't really lead anywhere, and that can be a case for a lot of the show. When something is as disjointed as and as dreamlike as Twin Peaks is, sometimes you're not always there for it. As much as I do think Twin Peaks is probably one of my favorite shows ever, I also respect the fact that because it is what it is, it's not gonna be for everyone, and that's just okay. Uh, if you're into that kind of thing, you'll love it. If you just don't have time for it, or you really just don't care about the weirdness, as I'm gonna describe it, then yeah, don't waste your time with it. It's totally up to you. But that's the case with everything, always, guys. I'm making this video because I really love this series, and I want to talk about it more than I'm trying to convince you to watch it. Uh, if you decide to check it out, great. But if not, that's your prerogative. Should you watch it? Is the weird next thing I wrote on my notes here. Like I just sort of said, it's absolutely a personal choice. I think watching the Northwest Passage, the first episode, is, I'd say it's a, I'd say everybody should at least watch that. Like you don't have to watch Fire Walks with Me, though you can. That actually sort of stands on its own. If you don't want to watch the whole show, then you figure out the twist right then and there. It's not. It sort of stands on its own if you're really not interested in watching all the show, but it's up to you. That's really all I'm gonna say as for should you watch it, because I love the series. I know a lot of people love it as well. It's not. It's. I don't know. I don't want to call it cult because it really did numbers at its height, right? Like, but it's not a show that everyone is going to be eager or interested in because it's what it is. It's, I don't know, I Lynchian. I don't want to call it elevated or anything because that wouldn't really make any sense, because because it's a lot of really strange and angelic stuff on the screen. I feel like I keep finding weird new adjectives to describe it: ethereal, dreamlike, angelic. Like, what am I talking about, right? You see Twin Peaks. It's David Lynch. It's what he does. It's what he's always done, and it's what he does best. He You'll never watch anything by David Lynch where you can completely predict what's going to happen next. Now you can spoil yourself on the main plot, and there's a lot of like side stuff, like uh, box sets with bonus content, and of course books and other things that I think streamline the stories in a lot of ways, because you can follow Twin Peaks pretty easily right up until it gets runs off. No, this is not to say that season 3 goes off the rails. It's just it's really the sort of height of David Lynch that I've seen. I said I haven't seen like Inland Empire, or I haven't seen Lost Highway. There's still a few movies of his I have to watch to say I'm at least familiar with his whole filmography. But yeah, Twin Peaks is Twin Peaks, and you're either going to absolutely love it or it's just gonna be okay to you. It's gonna either be that or it's gonna be you don't like it at all. I just named the three options. It's kind of weird. Those three options are basically just everyone's opinion on anything ever. I don't know. I'm doing this on the fly, guys. I don't really have a script for these videos, as I've sort of said before. I guess if I'm gonna finish off this video with anything, is rest in peace, David Lynch. You brought us a lot to think about. You never really gave us that many answers. This series is vague, guys. It does not give you that many answers, especially for the really outlandish stuff. But it's part of the charm, I think. And if you're not here for that, if you want answers to your mysteries, yeah, I can't speak too much more as to that. Whatever, it's nothing that I haven't already said. David Lynch, we were lucky to have him for as long as we did, and I know a lot of people are going to miss him. So, yeah. Thank you, David Lynch, for everything. That's all, guys. See you in the next video.